Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today on my channel. I am Dawn, the founder, owner, and designer of Creative Appliques. Thank you for joining me. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. And if you're new, please click that subscribe button down below, and then right next to it, that bell, click that too, so you'll be notified when I upload new content. Also, if you find value in my videos, please smash that like button because it helps the algorithms of the channel and it lets other sewing people know that this content is of value. In today's video, I have a brand new font for you. It's called 3D Puff Embossed Reverse Embroidery Font. Get it? Embossed. Anyway, I'm going to be stitching this font today, and I'm going to be using my 8x13 MightyHoop on my multi-needle machine, but you can also do this on a single needle machine as well. So if you want to know the tips, tricks, ideas, how to make it easy, and all the steps, we're going to take you from beginning to end, stay tuned because we've got you covered. So this is what we're going to be stitching today, and it's an embossed 3D puff embroidery, and it's typically done where you have the foam, whether it's 3D puff foam or another type of foam, sewn on the inside. So it's very similar to a regular applique, but we put the shirt on top after we do the foam. Okay, so here are some of the supplies that we're going to need for this project. For starters, I am using fusible poly mesh cutaway stabilizer, and I'm going to put this in the hoop. And then I have my t-shirt where I have it marked where I want to stitch the design, some medical tape. This is Transport medical tape. ODF, or some kind of temporary spray adhesive that is gentle and kind to and friendly to your embroidery machine, a ruler to know where you're going to place the design, a pen, a marking pen. This is a water soluble one, so it will come off with water. Magnets, and I'll show you why I use these in a bit. These are sew type magnets that are specific for using for sewing. And some good tweezers. I love these from Famore Cutlery. A range of scissors if you're using a different type of foam. I'm using my MightyHoop today on my multi-needle machine. This is the 8x13. If you're looking to get some MightyHoops, please use my link below and also use the code Creative Appliques at checkout to receive free shipping. And foam. There are two different types, and we'll talk about that in a minute. If you're not using the 3D puff embroidery foam, if you're using the cutaway stuff, this hot knife works really well, and I will show you that when we get to that point. And then I bought this little cutting mat from a dollar store. That way I use it underneath my item when I'm cutting away the foam to not ruin my good cutting mat, to just protect the surface. And then you will need one of two types of foam. This is puffy foam for embroidery. This is by Sulky. There's also a brand by Ganold, and Designs and Machine Embroidery also has some. This is 2mm. It comes in 3mm. I think it comes in also maybe 4 and 6. Or you can also use a foam like this. This is Sew Any Shape foam from Designs and Machine Embroidery, typically used for bag making, but we're going to use it in our project today. The other item I'm also going to be using is this Hoop Master hooping station. When we get to that point of putting the shirt on, I will show you how to use this. It's so much easier than trying to get the hoop inside the shirt. For starters, let's talk about the different types of foam that you can use. So there is specific foam made for machine embroidery, puffy foam. There are several different brands of it. This has typically been used in hats. When you see the logos and designs on hats that are 3D, this is typically the foam that is used for that. and also embroidery fonts. You can also use in this project a foam that is like sew any shape foam, or foam that is used in bag making. It still has structure, but the thing that I like about this foam is that it is more flexible and not as hard on a shirt or an item. It just depends on your preference, but since it's a piece of clothing, I'm doing a t-shirt today and it's going to be on the front of the shirt, I prefer to use this. With this though, you will need scissors to cut it away, or the hot knife like I showed you earlier. It makes it much easier to cut this away when you have something like the hot knife. The puffy foam will tear away very easily away from the stitching, so it can be much faster. It's just going to be a preference on what you want and how you want the look and the feel to be of your end product. So let's show you a few samples here of what I have stitched. So these are a bunch of tests that I did. So the one here on the left I did with a single layer of the embroidery foam. So this foam here, I did it with just a single layer of the foam. You could see it has nice, crisp, clean edges because that's essentially, it just tears away in a very nice, sharp, clean form, shape. This one here on the right, I did with this type of foam, the sew any shape foam. And I used 2 layers of it in this to get it a little extra loft. So you can see it's more rounded and it's more elevated. But the thing that I like about the one on the right is it's much softer for clothing. So it's, again, as I mentioned before, it's just a preference on what you choose and what you want. But the one on the right here has a softer texture and is more flexible. The one on the left is firmer, denser, and a sharper edge. Now, something that you could do if you do want more loft, definition, height, you can use multiple layers of any of the foam. So if you wanted to go with like 6 millimeters in height, you can use 3 pieces of this foam to get a lot of loft and height in it. As far as cost is concerned, this is definitely going to be more costly, the embroidery foam, because they come in small sheets like this, and they've come up to like a 12 by 14 inch sheet, but sometimes those are upwards of $5 a piece. Whereas you can get something like this that ends up being a yard by 58 inches and for about $15, $20 perhaps. And so this is more cost effective, but it will take you a little bit of extra time with the cutting. One other comment I did want to make about the foam, depending on how many layers you're going to use, you may need to raise your presser foot on your machine, and you may also need to loosen your tension. Now, since this video is not machine specific, we're just talking about the technique, you're going to need to do some research on that, either finding a YouTube video regarding your specific machine or consulting your manual. But you may need to raise your presser foot and also adjust the tension. So that's just a word of caution and something to be aware of. Now let's get into the project. I am using the fusible mesh stabilizer, and I am only going to hoop the stabilizer by itself. So I have the base frame here of my MightyHoop, and I'm going to take the stabilizer and I'm going to place it fusible side up. So the shiny side, the side that gets ironed to the fabric, that is the side that I have up in the hoop. And now I'm going to place the top hoop down. So this is how my hoop will go into my machine, like this. And I'm going to get it nice and taut so there's no ripples or anything. You may want to use 2 layers of the fusible if you wish. I've used 1 layer and I've been pretty happy with it. Now let's go to the machine. So I loaded the design to the machine and I'm going to choose my frame. I'm going to choose the largest frame. But the one important thing that we need to do is we need to rotate. We need to flip the design 180 degrees so it is upside down. So if you see now, we rotated it 180 degrees so it's upside down. And this is for when we put the shirt on, we're going to be sewing the shirt upside down from the bottom. So it's not going to be the neck that goes in. I'm going to load the MightyHoop to the machine. And we're going to trace. The first step that is going to stitch is the placement stitch. It's going to stitch the outside of each letter so you know where to place the foam. Okay, you can see we stitched the outline, so now we know where to place our foam. So with 3D puff, it's pretty self-explanatory. You lay it down, you stitch it, and that really pulls up very easily. In today's demo, I wanted to show you how I'm using the dime sew any shape foam in this and how I use the hot knife to cut it away. So because I like extra loft and height on it, I'm going to use 2 layers. So I'm just going to layer them on top of each other. Just tape it on the corners so it's not going to get stitched down. And now I'm going to load the hoop back on the machine and we're going to stitch the tack down for this. Okay, now that we've finished the tack down, we will go clean this up and trim away the foam. Remove the tape. Now if you have the 3D puff foam, this is where you would simply tear it away. And there are videos you can find on YouTube that will show you that. But I wanted to show you the technique of using the clover hot knife and cutting it away. Now before I do that, I want to let you know, to show you that I have this cheap cutting mat underneath here so I don't ruin my good cutting mat. So I just have to be aware that when I'm cutting that I always have that there. And I'm going really close to the stitching, but I'm not on the stitching. And I'm not using just the tip, I'm using it more flatter. So you may have to do several passes. I don't want to go too heavy because I don't want to cut through the stabilizer. But if you do cut through the stabilizer, it's not a problem because you will be able to put another piece on the back of it. The other option you have as well is you could just use scissors and trim it away. This is essentially just kind of like old school applique. We just don't have the shirt on here yet. So you might find it easier to just use your scissors, and that way you're not cutting through the stabilizer. I'm only cutting 1 layer at a time. And I'm being very careful not to pull too hard on the foam to pull it up and away from the stabilizer. So if you're better with cutting with scissors, like I am, it might be faster for you just to do it like that. And again, I'm not really pulling up on the foam because I don't want to move it out of the stabilizer. This is the longest part of the process of this project. So now one place this knife really comes in handy is cutting out the centers of the letters. And I've got my green mat on the other side, if you can see. Now that I've got it somewhat lifted, I'm going to use my scissors just because I'm more comfortable with my scissors. I feel like I'm faster with my scissors and less chance of cutting the stabilizer. So this is all trimmed now. Now let's look at the back and see how we did on the stabilizer. So it looks good. I didn't cut through the stabilizer at all. So this is going to hold nicely, so I don't need to put another layer on. If perhaps you did cut through the stabilizer. All you would do, take another piece of stabilizer that's larger than the lettering here. Again, the shiny side down, put the shiny side against the back of this, and then tape it in place. And what this will do is at the end, when we're finished, you would iron this stabilizer to the back of the first stabilizer, and then the first stabilizer gets ironed onto the shirt. Okay, so here is the Hoopmaster hooping station, and I'm going to put my frame on. And now I'm going to take this shirt. Actually, I'm going to use my temporary spray adhesive here, and I'm going to spray it around the top. And I'll be right back. So I essentially sprayed it right around here and on top of the letters, just like that. Now we're gonna hoop the shirt, sliding it on over the arms of the frame. Now you can see this is the center mark here, and I marked about where I want the design to be. So I also have a line here. I folded it in half and pressed it so that I have a line on my shirt. So now I know where the center is, and I'm matching the center line up with the hole here. So that looks pretty good. And now I'm just going to gently press down and press my fingers down around the letters. And with the spray on there, it's going to help hold it. And now one thing that I like to do is I like to take my Sew Tight magnets and put them on the frame, on the sides here and the top right there, because this is the side that's going into the machine, and I don't want these magnets in my way while I'm trying to get past the needle bar and everything. Okay, so we now have it hooped. I'm going to lift up on the arms, and I'm going to pull out. And now we're going to go put it on the machine. And now we need to get the shirt around the arms of the embroidery machine. You may want to pull it back a little bit just so you can see your arms and where they are. And the smaller the garment you're stitching, the more challenging this becomes. Or as you get more proficient at it, you might also just want to hoop the shirt on the machine. So you heard it snap in there, which is great, but now I want to make sure that my hand can go inside the neck here, and that the back of the shirt is down underneath the arm of the embroidery machine. And now I'm flattening this all out again. 2 more magnets here, and attach them on the back of the frame. You don't want to pull it too tight because you want to have a little bit of give there so it could stitch. And now we're going to stitch the final step, which is the tack down of the shirt, stitching the shirt on. All right, I'm going to remove the magnets, turn it inside out, and unhoop the stabilizer. And now I'm going to trim around the stabilizer, leaving about an inch around the outside so I can iron the stabilizer onto the shirt. So right now I'm just pulling the shirt away from the stabilizer where I had the temporary spray adhesive. And the scissors really just glide through the stabilizer. So a lot of times I don't even have to cut. Now, one other thing that helps with having the stabilizer when we iron it on adhere is if you cut the corners rounded. Because over time, with washing and drying, a lot of times the stabilizer will start pulling away from the shirt. And so there's less chance of it tearing away or pulling away, lifting off from the shirt if you have the corners rounded. So that's a little trick there. And I will iron that onto the back. But here is our finished embossed boss shirt. This is a little water pen to get that blue mark off of there. It's just water from my friend Carolina Moore. It's a foundation piecing water pen. Always expect more. And I'll have a video coming out on a great way to use this. So there you go, guys. That's how easy and simple and fast it is. The longest part that it took me was removing the foam. But if you use the 3D puff, then you just tear it away. And honestly, you could probably get away with making this in 10 minutes at the most. So let me know in the comments, have you ever tried this technique before? If this is brand new to you, what do you think? Have you tried any other 3D puff designs or fonts? And I hope you give this a try. You can find it on my website, creativeappliques.com. I will have all the links down below. So thank you so much for joining me today. Please remember to hit that like button because it shows everybody on YouTube that the content is of value. Also click that subscribe button down below and also the bell next to it to be notified when I upload new content. I enjoy making these videos and I like to know if you find the content valuable and what else you would like to see. So please subscribe, please like, and until next time, make your life creative.